He thought I'd forgotten. He thought I was still that weak, quiet kid he used to push around in high school. But 13 years later, I found him. I found his perfect life, his fiancée, his family, everything he'd built, and I tore it apart piece by piece. This is how I got revenge on a man who made my teenage years a living hell. If you've ever dreamed of getting back at someone who humiliated you, someone who made you feel small, then buckle up, because this story is a definition of slow, cold revenge. And if you believe karma always comes around, hit that like button and subscribe, because this one's for you. Back in high school, I wasn't exactly what you'd call confident. I was a quiet kid, skinny, introverted, always lost in my thoughts. While others laughed, dated, or played sports, I stayed in the background, unnoticed, except by one person. His name was Bill. Bill wasn't the biggest or smartest guy, but he had something worse: power. He hung out with the popular crowd, but everyone secretly hated him. He was the kind of guy who preyed on weakness, like a shark smelling blood in water. I was that weakness. It started small. In gym class, he threw a basketball at the back of my head when I wasn't looking. In the hallway, he'd smack my back and sprint off laughing while his friends cheered. Once, he even grabbed me by the collar just to remind me who was in charge. Everyone saw. No one did a thing. And I just stood there, froze, and tried not to cry. You see, I wasn't just weak physically. I was weak inside too. I told myself, it's just high school, he'll forget about me. But the truth was, I never forgot about him. Years later, the transformation. Life went on. Bill got expelled before graduation for fighting. I, on the other hand, barely made it out, scarred, anxious, constantly looking over my shoulder. In my 20s, I changed everything. I worked out. I rebuilt my confidence. I learned how to stand tall again. But even then, somewhere deep down, that part of me, that bullied, broken kid, still whispered. He got away with it. Then, one day, 13 years after high school, I saw his name again. Scrolling through Facebook, there he was, smiling, happy, engaged, to a beautiful woman. And that's when something inside me clicked. I wasn't that scared kid anymore. Now I had patience. Now I had time. And I had one goal: make him feel helpless like I once did. The plan: revenge and silence. I didn't want confrontation. I didn't want violence. I wanted psychological warfare. Something that would crumble his perfect little life from the inside out. So I got to work. I found his fiancée's profile, went through her friend list, found her parents, her brother, and even her close friends. Every name, every connection, neatly noted down. Then came the addresses, all public, white pages, simple searches. Easy. I drove to a Walmart a few towns over, paid cash for envelopes, then to a drugstore, stamps, again paid in cash. And finally, I drove to a large city library, used a guest pass on a computer, no ID check, no trace. And there, I wrote my masterpiece, the letter, Lies That Spoke Truth. It began softly. Dear name, I know it's strange to receive this letter, but I feel I must warn you for fiancé's name, S. Safety. I was once in a relationship with Billy. At first, he was charming. Then he changed. He became violent, punching, slapping. Once, he gave me a black eye and broke my rib. I thought he'd change, but he only got worse. I'm writing not out of revenge, but concern. Please, make sure she's safe before it's too late. From a concerned former partner. It was perfect, realistic enough to raise doubt, specific enough to cause chaos. I printed 10 copies. One for her, one for her parents, one for her brother, the rest for her closest friends. At home, I wore gloves, sealed every envelope with water, taped printed names and addresses on each one. No handwriting, no fingerprints, nothing. Then one night, under a hoodie, glasses, and a surgical mask, I dropped them all in a busy public mailbox a few cities away and drove home calm. The fallout, sweet silence. 6 months later, I checked their profiles again. No engagement photos, no wedding announcements, Just silence. Then I saw it. Their relationship status was gone. She'd wiped him from her social media. Friends were posting cryptic quotes about dodging a bullet and trusting your gut. I smiled because I knew exactly what bullet she dodged. I imagined Bill, confused, desperate, trying to explain himself to everyone. His fiancée demanding answers. Her family looking at him with disgust. And him, powerless. Exactly how I once felt. The smiley, the final message. A year later, I sent one last message. One single sheet of paper. No words. Just a giant smiley face, covering the whole page. I didn't need to say anything. He'd know. He'd know someone out there remembered. Someone who wasn't afraid anymore. Someone who might strike again. And that's when I felt it. The rush, the peace, the balance finally restored. People say revenge doesn't heal. Maybe they're right. But sometimes it doesn't have to. Sometimes revenge isn't about healing. It's about reclaiming power. Showing the universe that the one who once trembled now stands tall. I didn't destroy his life completely, but I cracked it deep enough that he'd never forget the taste of fear. The same taste he forced on me all those years ago. And that felt enough. Sometimes it comes quietly, through an envelope, a whisper, a smiley face. Karma doesn't forget. It just waits patiently. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button. It helps more than you think. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? Because here, every week, we serve justice one story at a time. Subscribe now and remember, some scars never fade, but sometimes they turn into armor.